I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. Ice can do some pretty amazing things. Just open your eyes to the winter and you'll experience the beauty of ice all around. But some Southeast Michigan universities took the artistry of ice a lot further during the Ice Carving Festival. County Farm Park welcomed artists as they created temporary sculptures out of ice.
These are college students from the Henry Ford Community College, and then we also have the U of M ice carving team this year as well. People can come and enjoy these great pieces that these students have created and help kind of support the local community colleges and colleges of Southeast Michigan.
We make a template about a week beforehand, just on paper to give us an idea of kind of what we want to design. Then we paste it on water, paste it on our ice block, and then you have a nice template to work with. Usually we start off with the saws, carve out our outline of what we want, and then we work from there with our specific precision tools like our Dremels and grinders and sanders to get exactly kind of more detail that we want in the carving itself.
For the Ice Carving Festival, the designs were left to the artists to decide.
How detailed do you want to get? How creative? Are you going 3D? Are you just going a wall? What do you want? What do you want to do? How do you envision it? And how long is it going to take you?
We're going to leave them right up here. So they are going to be on display in this County Farm Park Pavilion until they melt.
Stay tuned, and we'll be back shortly with more news and information. You may think there's not a lot to do in the winter months when it comes to protecting our ecosystem from invasive plant species. But even when all seems frozen, the Natural Area Preservation, or NAP, is still working hard to protect our land. NAP volunteers layered up as they braved the elements during World Wetlands Day, a yearly winter tradition.
We're celebrating it by inviting people out into our wetlands and helping to teach them about wetlands and helping show them how they can help wetlands thrive in their own communities. Winter is really great for working in wetlands because the ground is frozen solid, and so while we normally would be working in up to our ankles in mud working where we were today, we could just walk easily on the hard ground.
The afternoon was spent cutting down invasives at one of the city's most popular parks.
Gallup Park is adjacent to Furstenberg Nature Area, and that has a lot of really nice diverse species, a nice ecosystem over there that's been protected, and connecting up with the waterway provides a much more diverse habitat for species to move in and out of.
When we cut down the honeysuckle and the black alder and the buckthorn, we let more light in so that those native plants can thrive, and we create more space for them to colonize later.
This is to make space for those natives. We're kind of the suppressor for those, and to allow what was here as a very diverse and complicated ecosystem to continue on.
To learn more or to inquire about volunteering opportunities, visit a2gov.org/NAP. As the city covers in snowflakes, there is some need-to-know information for residents and businesses alike as they keep their sidewalks safe for pedestrians. Learn about snow removal guidelines in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hello, my name is Robert Keller with the City of Ann Arbor. Winter means snow and ice, and that makes it hard for people to get around the city, especially pedestrians. So as a resident and business, you need to do your part and help clear your sidewalks of ice and snow. What does that mean? Well, for residents, it means any snow accumulation greater than 1 inch has to be cleared within 24 hours. If you're a business, any snow accumulation by 6 a.m. needs to be cleared by noon the same day. So help do your part, clear your adjacent sidewalks, crosswalk ramps, and any concrete bus stops that may be adjacent to your property, and help make it easier for people to get around the great city of Ann Arbor.
In 2018, you don't often get to physically hold and read newspapers. But here in Ann Arbor, we have one publication that is still going strong in assisting those in financial turmoil in the process. Groundcover News has a diverse mix of articles by and about people living on the edge. Joining me is Ted Sylvester, Executive Director, and Susan Beckett, Publisher for Groundcover News. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Right.
If you could just first explain what Groundcover News is and kind of how it got started.
So Groundcover News is a monthly periodical that serves Washtenaw County, and it provides both an economic opportunity and a voice for low-income people, most of whom either are homeless or have experienced homelessness at some time in their lives.
So they can, even after, I mean, they can keep selling the paper to help financially, even after, it doesn't matter if they're homeless or not.
Correct. In
There's
fact, you know, to get back to your question of how it got started, so I ran into it in Seattle, and I was struck because for many years I've been working on international poverty, and microcredit is a really important tool there, giving loans to very poor people who have no collateral. And one of the more recent innovations in the field of microcredit had been just giving things to people who are really at the poorest of the poor, giving them ribbons to sell door to door rather than going begging door to door, to just up their game a bit. And when I ran into the street newspaper in Seattle, it struck me right away as a wonderful application of that kind of microcredit here in the United States. And one of the tenets of microcredit is once people stop, you know, once they pass the point of being impoverished, you don't pull out the tool, you don't take away the tools that have allowed them to get there and plunge them back into poverty. That's just counterproductive. Instead, you continue to allow them to rise to the point where they then create opportunities for others and no longer need your services because they're getting them from the mainstream. So right from the beginning, we've modeled Groundcover in that vein.
Yeah, it's such a huge benefit to have something like this, because I actually read a book a couple years back where they talked about once you are at the level of poverty, it's basically impossible to get a decent job or even to get a job at all for anyone to even call you for an interview, because you don't look good, or you don't have clean clothes to wear. So just to have something like this is a huge benefit to the people in this area.
We've run into a number of people, particularly in the skilled trades, who they've gotten ill or they've broken a leg and they didn't have insurance, and they needed something like this to be able to get their tools back, because again, by the time things really hit rock bottom, everything's been either lost or sold.
So what kind of articles are we going to see in Groundcover News on a monthly basis?
Well, there are some that are every month. Like we always have a recipe, we always have some of our puzzles. I typically write a column. We have a reverend who used to work at the church where our office is, who continues to write for us a somewhat spiritual column. And then it kind of depends. So we accept material from the public, and typically there will be 2 or 3 people who will write in about some event that they're working on, or some discovery that they've made that they really want the rest of the community to know about. And typically there will be 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 of our vendors, the people who sell the paper, who will decide to write an article that month or contribute a poem. And usually it's about what's going on in their lives, their experiences, things that most people in our community really don't have any idea about. And then we have a few people who are just community members who like to write, and we'll pitch them some article ideas, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'd like that. Sounds interesting. I'll write about that." So it's it's really varied.
I think what's important about the format is that it encourages the vendors who are out there on the streets selling the paper, it encourages them to tell their story. And other street newspapers around the country, they exist with various premises, but I don't think that's necessarily one of them. So it does make Groundcover unique in the context of free newspapers.
Well, yeah, and you're getting no other publication online or actual physical is going to have the stories that you guys are going to have in Groundcover. It's really unique to what the situation is. Do people get paid for the articles, or do they just, the vending is where the money is?
We don't pay any of our volunteer writers, but our vendors get paid in newspapers. So
Okay.
we'll give them 10 to 20 free newspapers, depending on the complexity of the piece that they
Okay, that's
submitted.
nice. Kind of explain to me how the vending aspect works and how they're making money doing that.
Each month we publish an issue, and the vendors come to the office and buy papers from us wholesale. Currently the paper costs $2 on the street. It's a donation of $2. We sell the paper to the vendors for 50 cents. So they will pick up the numbers of papers that they need, go hit the streets, hopefully make some money, and then come back with the money they've made and buy more newspapers throughout the month.
Okay. So it's also important that you guys have volunteers, though, too.
We have a tremendous corps of volunteers. The office is open at least 20 hours a week, at least 4 to 5 days a week, and it's staffed by some very dedicated, very generous people who have devoted a lot of time. Many of them have been there for years, and it's so essential to have that help. We have interns as well from the university. So it's quite a crew that puts it all together.
So if someone wants to be a new volunteer, what do they have to do?
Get in touch with us, basically.
Yeah.
So they could email contact@groundcovernews.com, or they could call our phone number, which is 734-707-9210. And all that information is in every issue of Groundcover News. On
Okay.
the second page, there's a black box, and all the information for how to get in touch with us, how to submit articles, it's all there every month.
Perfect. So you guys actually have a benefit concert coming up very soon with Gemini. Why don't you talk about why people should come check this concert out and support Groundcover in the process?
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen Gemini, but or been to one of their concerts, but they're really delightful. And like Groundcover, they're a hometown product. So they say, they sing interesting songs that, like for instance, they have one about Zingerman's Deli, that again you're not going to hear from anybody else, and they perform in a way that delights everyone, from your grandmother to your grandchild, and so I think it'll be a wonderful community event. I think people who are there, it'll be joyous and uplifting and a really pleasant way to spend a February Sunday afternoon.
So it's coming up. It's February 18th.
Yes.
What time is it at?
2 o'clock.
And where is it at?
Trinity Lutheran Church on Stadium Boulevard. So it's kind of across the street from Pioneer High School, and then you go a little bit further west.
And you can buy advance tickets still and tickets at the door?
Correct. The tickets at the door, we're asking for cash only, and those are $10. But you can buy tickets in advance if you go to our website, groundcovernews.org. It's got a link there that you can buy advance tickets that are $12 using credit, or what's been most popular is premium reserve tickets at $20.
Okay. So if you could, well, before we go, actually we should mention that, if you wanted to give more, you can always give more too, right?
Of course, yes.
So if you're buying a paper, if you have a 5 and want to throw a 5 someone's way, that's cool. Or to give more for the benefit concert even.
Right, and I think it's important to reinforce what you said with the vendors. You know, when you give them the $5, they keep that entire $5. We don't, you know, whatever you give to the vendor, it's theirs. They're an independent entrepreneur. The other thing I wanted to mention about the vendors is when they first come into somebody who wants to become a vendor, when they first come to us, we put them through about a 45-minute orientation. And when they leave that orientation, along with a permit to sell in Ann Arbor, they have 10 free copies of Groundcover. So that's their like initial loan.
Yeah, like it started.
Right.
Yeah. So why should people support Groundcover?
Well, first of all, the idea of the microloan to get vendors started in their own small business is such a great concept. It allows people who, like you said before, would otherwise have a hard time finding a job or making a job interview for various reasons. And what it does is it defies the myth that homeless people don't really want to work. And it demonstrates to the public and the community that if given an opportunity, if given a chance, that people will come forward and they do want to better their lives. So I think they should people should support Groundcover because of this benefit for people who otherwise wouldn't have such an opportunity.
Susan, did you want to add anything?
I do. 2 things. One is it's a great read. We are really fortunate to live in a community of great writers and filled with fascinating ideas and programs that you wouldn't learn about otherwise. And the other is that I think it's good for the soul. I don't think it's an accident that so many of the great religions prioritize personal giving, you know, giving to another human being. I think it does something for us that we don't realize we're missing until we do it.
Yeah. Thank you both for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/watchctn. Thanks for watching and tune in next time to FYI.